Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. All right, so let's get the update out of the way. I'm still reading Murder Falcon, of course, with the marvelous team up. This time it's Graz. Well, it's always me and Graz from the GKBC, and this time we're being joined by Jay, the Faceless Book Reviews. And hopefully we've got one more episode left of that. I hope you've been watching. I hope you've been enjoying it. Haven't really nailed down the next graphic novel we will be doing, and not really sure if Jay is going to be joining us, but I'm going to put it out there. Anybody that wants to join us, watch the next video. We'll probably announce the next graphic novel that we're going to be starting there, and maybe somebody else will join us this time. It'd be great. It's fun. It was fun as hell having Jay on, and he's done a fantastic job. Also, so I finished Tad Williams' Empire of Grass. Yep. 688 pages. Book 2 in the Last King of Osten series. And we're going to talk about that, I guess, now. I will be moving on to Apollo 8. I think I'm going to start reading that tonight. And then I'll finish up the month with Agency, which is book 2 in the Peripheral series by William Gibson. All right, so this is book 2. Now, you can check back a couple weeks, couple months maybe, where I did my discussion on the Witchwood Crown. This, of course, was book 1 in The Last King of Osten. First, I'm going to talk about this. I've talked about this several times. This cover is really good. It's got that soft feel to it. Beautiful, beautiful. Book 2, again, soft cover, beautiful artwork. And then book 3. What the hell happened? I still haven't been able to find out what the hell happened. Not the soft cover, not the same type of realistic art. Into the Narrow Dark, it's book 3, smaller book than the others. I don't know what happened here. And I have seen some mock-ups for the 4th book. Now, the 4th book is going to be coming out in November of this year. And hopefully it's going to wrap up. I mean, that's what he says. It's going to wrap it up. You never know with Tad Williams, though. I mean, his books are pretty big. Epic fantasy, for the most part. He does science fiction and other things, too. But I don't know. I don't know what happened with this. But we're not talking about this. The 4th book is going to be called The Navigator's Children, and should, of course, like I said, wrap up the series in November. But let's talk about Witchwood Crown. So, if you saw my last review on the 1st book in this series, you'll notice that I gave it a 4 stars. Okay? Well, this one I gave 4.5 stars. Let's talk about it. Let's do the numbers first, of course. So this was originally published in May of 2019. And my version, it's the first is 688 pages. On Goodreads, it currently holds a 4.37 rating, which is really good on Goodreads. And of course, as I said, I gave it 4.5. So I gave, here, let's stand you up. I gave Witchwood Crown 4 stars. It took me a little bit to get into that story. If you are a fan of Tad Williams, you know he writes epic stories that have multiple plot lines going through them. Tons of characters, multiple plot lines, and he's the master at bringing them all together in the end and really nailing the landing. really giving you a great finale. This book started out, Witchwood Crown started out, of course, I'm familiar with the world. I'm familiar with a lot of the characters, of course, have come back. It's 30 years in the future from the original series. And so things have changed, but I may be a little biased. I gave it 4 stars because I just love Tad Williams' writing, his style of writing, his storytelling, and this world that he's created. However, a lot of people didn't like it. I think they were expecting so much because of how popular the first series was that I think they were let down a little bit by it. A valid, complaint about Tad is he's very slow plotting storyteller. If you want to read an epic fantasy where you sit back and relax and get immersed in a world that is expertly developed and long storylines that take some time to develop, you love Tad Williams. George R.R. Martin, said that Tad Williams, the original series, The Dragonbone Chair, was the inspiration for him writing Game of Thrones. Patrick Rothfuss says Tad Williams was his inspiration to become a fantasy writer. A lot of more modern fantasy writers talk about how Tad Williams is their inspiration. But yeah, he can be a little wordy, as you can tell by the hundreds and hundreds of pages in all of his books, and a little slow. I know a lot of readers nowadays want that fast-paced, constant fighting and visceral, crazy things going on. But Tad lets the story engulf you and carry you along into this fantasy world. I just loved it. This book, again, this one, it took me a little bit to get into. This one is much better. I couldn't quite give it 5 stars because, again, it's slow. It's all over the place. And there's one of the bad things about Tad's writing is he's not the greatest at political intrigue and things like that. And in this kind of world, this fantasy world, with the different factions and the wars going back and forth, there is a lot of political wrangling going on, and he's not the greatest at it. Great storyteller, great world builder, really good at developing characters that you care about and want to see what happens next, but not the greatest in political intrigue that some fantasy writers really do better. For instance, George R.R. Martin, of course. But I still love it. I'm not going to give a lot away. We're not going to talk about the book really that much because it's so involved and entrenched in this world, this whole series. You kind of have to read it. There is so much going on. Why I gave this 4.5 over 4 from the first book is it's more like he's settled in now. He's gone back to Osten. He reintroduces a lot of people and introduces new readers to this world. You don't have to have read Dragonbone Chair series to understand what's going on. I would highly suggest it, of course, but you don't have to. So this one is kind of like, the beginning. You have the beginning, middle, and end of series. So this was the beginning. Took a little bit to get into. This one, though, oh my goodness. Every single storyline, and there's 1,000 of them was intriguing, was captivating, got me wanting to read it. There's other books, I'm not going to bring up their names, where in fantasy anyways, the writer tries to do this, Tad Williams the best of it, having all these different storylines in different places in this world and trying to bring them together. And I find myself oftentimes wanting to just read one of the storylines, not so involved with the other ones, or I'm reading and it's really good, and then it goes, the different chapter goes to a new storyline, and I kind of get pissed off. I'm like, oh, I want to just keep reading what's going on with this character and this storyline, because this is kind of boring or doesn't intrigue me as much, or it's kind of just thrown in there oftentimes. Not so, in my opinion anyways, with Tad Williams, and in this book particular. I loved every storyline and was thrilled when I left one, even though I was in it, and went back to another one and read that one, and then started getting going. Oh, now we're on to the next one and next one. I loved it. I had a great time reading this book. Again, 688 pages, not too bad. 350 kind of pages a week. Took me 2 weeks to read it, but I loved it. I want more people to read Tad Williams. If you haven't, I know it can look daunting. I mean, there's just 2 books, very thick, a lot of pages, a lot of storytelling, but you can get in with Tad Williams because of his writing style is very easy to read. I mean, there's a lot of names, a lot of people, of course, and that can deter some people. But as you read organically, you start to, develop a picture of all these characters, and how they talk and how they act. I love it. The only thing, like I said, the only bad thing is the political intrigue isn't the best with Tad Williams, and of course, where everybody stands, kind of. I mean, there's very few morally gray characters, and I like the new fantasy with the morally gray characters. I think it's a little bit more realistic. I don't think people can be, evil 24/7. Every single syllable that comes out of their mouth is evil and mean and vicious, like some of the characters in this book. That kind of throws me out a little bit because it's just not so realistic. I mean, everybody has to sleep, has to eat, go to the bathroom, has friends. But some of the characters in here, even the whole tribe of people all act horrible to each other. Now, me and my buddies growing up, we love to diss each other and cut each other down all the time. It's part of the fun. But who's gonna dig somebody the worst? But not as vicious as these people are constantly threatening to kill each other if you don't do what I tell you to do. It just kind of gets a little too much. That was the only 2 problems I have with the book. Other than that, I'm just gonna say, please, if you haven't read Tad Williams, give him a try. He has other books. Like I said, he's got some science fiction books. He's got one urban fantasy series that he's done I haven't even read yet. He's got some short stories. He does a lot of comic book writing. I don't know, all kinds of things. But yeah, I know I didn't tell you a lot about this story. Of course, King Simon and Queen Marymel are the center of the story, and all the trials and tribulations that are happening in this world. The Norns and the Scythi and Benebek and his family. I could go on and on and on telling you the names of the characters and the different storylines, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to ask you to try to read Tad Williams. All right, that's it. I'm done. I know, a little boring, not a lot of information, but I hope you enjoyed it anyways. So, as usual, if you find any entertaining values in my videos, please like, please subscribe, and please leave me some comments. I love the comments. I do. And until next time, peace out.